Hello, everybody, and welcome to your post-match podcast, live here from Anfield in association with NordVPN, brought to you by the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host, Theo Squires, and it's been another disappointing night for Liverpool Football Club as they fall to a sixth defeat from the last 7 games. They are out of the League Cup after a heavy 3-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. A much changed side from Arne Slot for this one. He made 10 changes. There's a formation change as well. A lot of youngsters involved, and that gamble, well, on the night, it's not worked for him. It's backfired. Liverpool fall into that 3-0 defeat. We'll see in time whether the decision to rest so many senior stars pays off when Liverpool have got a big week coming against Aston Villa, Real Madrid and Manchester City. If they can respond in those games, Arne Slot will say he was justified with his decision. Obviously left out a number of senior players tonight, and he says he didn't want to risk injuries to them. There is a logic to that, but it has backfired tonight with Liverpool falling to this heavy defeat. They were the better side for the majority of the first half, truth be told, but then Ismaila Sarr gets a brace just before half-time. And by that point, you know what way it's going to go. Liverpool only had academy players on that bench. It was a massive ask from that point to try and find a way back into the game. But they dug in deep and they managed to keep the score respectable, kept it at 2 until substitute Amaro Nallo was sent off for a professional foul late on. That was, 2 appearances for him, sent off in both games for professional fouls. It was about 10 minutes to go. And then Jeremy Pino makes it 3-0 right at the death after Liverpool give the ball away cheaply in midfield. We're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, so get your comments in. What do you think of Arne Slot's decision to make so many changes, and what do you think of Liverpool's performance today? As I say, 3-0 doesn't really tell the full story. Liverpool, with that much change side and the formation change, they did do pretty well. Didn't create too much in front of goal. Federico Chiesa was very isolated in attack, but it was an all-right performance from him. It's just when the goals went in, you knew which way it was going to go. If we look at the stats, they had more possession, 58.6 to 41.4, but they only had one shot on target, and that probably tells a lot of the story there. Palace, in contrast, had 9, with Freddie Woodman making his Liverpool debut, having to make a number of saves. Liverpool only had 10 touches inside the opposition box, and they're a very small side tonight as well, with a lot of younger players or more technical players in terms of senior options. Milos Kerkez, the only first-team player to keep his place from the defeat to Brentford at the weekend. We saw Joe Gomez join Wataru Endo and Andy Robertson in a back three. Calvin Ramsey and Milos Kerkez were the wing-backs. Ramsey did really well, actually, for the majority on his first appearance for the club for 3 years. Saw Anyoni in midfield with Alexis McAllister, who obviously hasn't been at his best this season as he fights his way back from long-term injury. He got a good 65 minutes under his belt there. Kieran Morrison came on for started for his Liverpool debut with Rio Engamoa on the opposite flank, and Chiesa was up front. We saw Welity Lucky come on for his Liverpool debut off the bench. Trent Cone-Doherty came on for his Anfield debut. Nallo came on and got sent off, but then Kate Gordon was involved as well. But yeah, it was another difficult day for Liverpool, where Palace, once they got the goals, they're obviously going to progress. And you've got to ask yourself now, well, how is Arne Slot going to respond to this? What is he going to do at the weekend against Aston Villa? It's another massive game for the Reds. You'll hope he's justified by his decision by resting so many senior stars, and that a full week on the training pitch can help turn things around, can help prepare for Aston Villa. After the defeat to Brentford, he said that they're yet to solve the issues they've had in recent weeks, defending long balls, working against low blocks, the set pieces. So hopefully a full week can turn that around. We'll have to wait and see. A rest for a number of senior players as well, and there's obviously injury doubts about the likes of Ryan Gravenberch, Alexander Isak, Curtis Jones. We saw Alisson Becker, he posted an update on social media today that he is back training on the grass, so maybe he'll be fit to return hopefully at some point next week. If not, it'll be after the international break. But yeah, there's a few injuries there, so you can see why Arne Slot didn't want to risk any of those senior stars. If you lose Conor Bradley, for example, if he plays in this one, you don't have a senior right back for Villa, for Real Madrid and for Manchester City. But this is clutching at straws, isn't it, for positives? It was another really disappointing result for Liverpool. 6 defeats and 7 now. And you can see from the comments coming in that a lot of you are not happy with the way Liverpool played, not happy with Arne Slot. Like I've already said, we have to just wait and see if Liverpool can respond next week. If they go and beat Real Madrid or they go and beat Man City, the decision was justified. It's not quite Brendan Rodgers throwing a game at the Bernabeu, is it? When he put in a second string against Real Madrid in the Champions League. League Cup fourth round is normally games where you put in a few youngsters, and yeah, Liverpool have lost today. it's not going to be something you remember if they can turn their form around in the next few games. Let's go through some of your comments now. Slot has lost the plot, says DJ Emo. This is bad football, says Archmagos. It wasn't the worst performance, if I'm being honest. They didn't create loads, but they passed it around well. It's just an inexperienced side that's never played together before. Has not played in that formation before either. It's what Liverpool got. It's probably what you expect ahead of kick-off. There were a couple of chances. Kay Gordon headed over. Kieran Morrison headed over. Rio Ngamawa was so close to scoring an absolute worldie open early on. He started really well, and then it just went away from him a little bit. It was a very young team, a very inexperienced team, and I think that showed as the game went on. Crystal Palace, obviously an experienced side, they only made a few changes, but these are players that have won the FA Cup, won the Community Shield, are competing in Europe. There was a big difference between the two sides there. Kevin Richards says no senior players on the bench was a joke. McAllister looks to have done a full-on Fabinho collapse. He was embarrassing tonight. McAllister's form is a concern, isn't it? Like we know he missed the end of last season with an injury. They've never specified what that injury was. We don't know how long he was carrying it, but he missed the last month of the season or so, a bit less. Comes back in pre-season, but it's the end of July when they're hoping he'd back for the start. He picks up a knock against before the Newcastle game, so he misses Newcastle. So there's an issue there. It's something that's carrying on. And when he's playing, he doesn't look fit. He doesn't look quick enough. It's why we've not seen him start the last couple of games. So this was a chance for him to get some game time in the League Cup. And it's difficult for him, isn't it? He's in a midfield too, in a change of formation alongside Trey and Yoni. It's not been the best showing from Liverpool. We'll have to see if he can find form soon. You'd expect him to be back on the bench at the weekend when you've had rests for the likes of Dominic Szoboszlai. We'll see what happens though with Curtis Jones and Ryan Gravenberch. They're not back from injury. Liverpool's options are rather limited. A few people obviously calling for Slot's position. Here we've got Ian saying, I'm not a Slot out, but the blame is on his tonight. You can't blame any of the kids. It was a bold decision to name the 11 that he did, to name the squad that he did. As soon as Liverpool fell behind, you knew they were not going to be able to turn it around because they didn't have those senior stars they could call upon on the bench. The senior stars were here. They were sat behind the dugout, watching the game, cheering on their teammates. We saw Mohamed Salah, Florian Wirtz, Virgil van Dijk, Ryan Gravenberch, Dominic Szoboszlai, etc., etc., etc. But yeah, there weren't much for him to really cheer on. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best of showings from Liverpool. It was good enough in the circumstances, but against an experienced Palace side, it was only going to end one way, especially when they took the lead. Archmagos here was disputing the fact the better side. I said they were the better side before Palace took the lead. I think you'll find that they were on top. Palace didn't really create too much before that opening goal. I think there was one header that Freddie Woodman kept out from Ismaila Sarr, and then Will Hughes had a shot straight at Freddie Woodman as well, but that was the limit of Palace's attacks in that first half before they took the lead. So Liverpool were passing it around well, they were in control, the formation was working well. It was only then that they were carved open. At the Palace opener comes from a ricochet off Joe Gomez, and Sarr volleys at home first time, and then the second goal was a really nice move. Sarr gets the ball from Kamada, plays a nice 1-2 with Pino, gets through his defence quite easily, and then just slots home past Freddie Woodman. Kevin says if we lose the next 3 games with no improvement, he would consider giving Jurgen Klopp a call in the international break. Obviously we've seen reports, not the most reliable ones though, saying that Klopp would be interested in coming back. And there was the interview he did with the CEO podcast saying he'd never rule out a return to Liverpool. But I think that's a non-starter, really. In the same interview, he was talking about turning down Manchester United, and he was saying how he would never have brought Paul Pogba back to the club. He'd have never brought Cristiano Ronaldo back to the club. And he's very much enjoying his time with the Red Bull group. I think it's very early to be questioning Arne Slot's position, but the pressure is mounting. This is a manager or head coach who still won the Premier League. They've backed him significantly in the transfer market in the summer with that 450 million summer spend. There have been injuries. There's been tragedy at the club. It's just how they respond. If you can get it working on the pitch, if you can get a response from those players, it feels bleak now. But if Liverpool can turn it around against Aston Villa, against Real Madrid, against Manchester City, the feeling in a week, 10 days will be very, very different. It's just a very low point tonight after losing 3-0 to Crystal Palace at home. Supporters, obviously it wasn't the best atmosphere. You see that side, League Cup 4th round. It's not going to be Anfield at its best, but they did get behind the team. Liverpool did start well. and they got the response from the crowd, but it felt a bit testimonial, a bit friendly at times. And Crystal Palace supporters, they travelled well. They weren't shy in taunting Liverpool and taunting Arne Slot. The singing chants of "Can we play you every week?" to "You're getting sacked in the morning." Not really a surprise. Titi Kamara, who I'm assuming is not the former Liverpool player, despite the picture, just a fan, because that was the biggest waste of time ever. Slot that set them up to fail tonight. Yeah, we look at the squad and you knew, you could sense Crystal Palace were probably going to win. It felt Crystal Palace were going to win. You look at the strength of their side compared to Liverpool. They were the favourites when those lineups come up. It has gone the way everyone expected it to before kick-off. But it's not about what happens tonight, it's about what happens next. And if Liverpool can respond, as I keep saying, in those upcoming 3 games before the international break. Rolling Thunder was impressed with Calvin Ramsey. I thought he played quite well tonight as well, to be honest. He did well for a player who's not played for the first team for 3 years. He was getting up and down the line well, winning his tackles. It was just much like the Liverpool performance in general. Once they fell behind, it fell apart a little bit. They weren't as solid. They weren't as good defensively. The game plan didn't go out the window. It just wasn't clicking as well. And what can you expect? What other comments have we had? We need updates on the injuries, says Casey. Well, I'm not really sure what I can offer on this, to be honest, apart from what was said after the Brentford game, as well. Maybe Arne Slot will offer us a bit more in the post-match press conference now if he's asked about some of the players. We know Curtis Jones came off against Brentford. No, Alexander Isak was carrying a groin injury from when he came off against Frankfurt. Ryan Gravenberch twisted his ankle against Manchester United. Alisson Becker's had that hamstring injury since Galatasaray, but he has posted an update saying he's back on the grass today. Giovanni Leone's out for the season. Jeremy Frimpong's out for a few weeks with a hamstring injury. Am I missing anyone? Let's have a quick look. Yeah, obviously the injuries are stacking up a little bit. Jayden Danns is out until the new year, we believe, with a hamstring injury as well. I think that's it. So yeah, we're not sure on who's going to be back for the weekend against Aston Villa yet. We've just got to wait for updates from Arne Slot. Maybe he'll come too soon for Alisson Becker if he's only just back on the grass. But maybe there'll be better news about Curtis Jones, Alexander Isak. We'll just have to wait and see. Liverpool do need the numbers back, don't they? Because that was part of the reason why there were so many changes tonight. Because Arne Slot didn't want to risk any further injuries ahead of what is potentially a make or break week for him. It is a huge game that Aston Villa won now. If the Liverpool lose at Anfield for the 3rd time in a row, you can't imagine what's going to be coming for him there. The pressure is really, really mounting on the Dutchman now, and that seems remarkable considering only 6 months ago Liverpool were winning the Premier League title, thrashing Tottenham Hotspur 5-1. It's been a drastic turnaround, especially after that summer spending. Something needs to change, something needs to click, and hopefully a full week on the training pitch preparing for Aston Villa can be some sort of solution. We'll have to wait and see. People are calling for change in the comments, going, I don't think Slot is the right person to solve the problem. It's a big call to make. We'll have to just wait and see. It's just 6 games in 7. That looks damning, doesn't it? The stands were emptying before the final whistle. Liverpool haven't looked great for the whole season, though. They got those wins early on when they were winning late on, getting those late goals, but they weren't at their best. It's just not clicking yet, and it's how much patience do the ownership show with the head coach, show with the team. Do they believe he's the right man? We'll have to wait and see. Hopefully he'll have the answers in the forthcoming games and find a way to turn it around. It is a difficult time for him. He said before it's the toughest challenge of his managerial career. But these are unprecedented times when you think of the personal tragedy of Diogo Jota, when you think of these players are still grieving their friend day after day. It's been difficult for Liverpool. We're just in with so many players in the new squad. It's a new look side. And they lost a lot of star players as well. And people will say they're missing Trent, they're missing Luis Diaz, missing Darwin Núñez. These are players that wanted to leave. Trent wanted to go to Real Madrid. Luis Diaz wanted to go to Bayern Munich. Darwin Núñez wanted to leave. He wanted to go to Saudi Arabia. Kevin Geller wanted to go and be a first choice elsewhere. These were not players that Liverpool could force to stay. They chose to sell them because they wanted to go, because they asked to go. And then Liverpool had to replace them. They had to take this step backwards to hopefully take 2 steps forward in the future. It's just how far into the future are we looking for that? Liverpool's chance of League Cup is over. They're not going to make it to a 3rd successive final. But maybe there is a blessing in that because it gives them a few extra days on training pitch going forward, a few midweeks off. They've just got to make the most of it, starting with the week they've had for the first team ahead of Aston Villa. Slot seems like he doesn't know what he's doing, says Faith. Just have to wait and see, don't we? It was always going to be a difficult ask for the first team, for the team tonight. The first team have just got to justify that decision against Aston Villa. A bit more positive from George, says we will never walk alone. That's the attitude we need. Liverpool supporters in the stadium, they're still fully backing Arne Slot. They were singing his name and applauded him at the end. When Palace fans were saying he was going to be sacked in the morning, they responded by singing his name. They're certainly not turning on the head coach just yet. That Premier League title win still carries some weight. Andy Robertson at the end, he offered an apologetic hand to the cop as well. So the players are hurting. They do need to find a way to respond. What was interesting actually is Andy Robertson was one of the players brought off early on, along with Alexis McAllister, about 65 minutes in, while Milas Kerkez completed the full 90. So I wonder if that's a potential hint for who could be starting left back for the next week of fixtures, whether Andy Robertson has got his way ahead of Milos Kerkez, who hasn't had the best start to his Liverpool career in the pecking order. We shall have to wait and see. Something to keep an eye on. Cash says when he saw the starting 11 versus theirs, we knew we'd lose big. We only decide to play our second side. Every other team plays first team squad. Means Slot doesn't want this cup. Watch our season unravel in these 4 games. That's a little bit harsh because you look at the other sides in the League Cup tonight. They have name change sides. Liverpool's hand was forced somewhat because of injuries. They had 6 players out, I think 7 players out, something like that. They couldn't make as many changes as they or use the depth in their squad that they had hoped to take advantage of when they were completing that 450 million transfer spending spree. Yeah, they could have had a few more senior players on the bench, but Slot decided it was the better choice to have them in reserve, to give them the night off. Just got to see if that decision pays off. It's a gamble. It could pay off. It could backfire in his face spectacularly. We'll just have to wait and see. Titi Kamara says there's no reason to rest the whole team. If the players need a rest in October, there is something wrong. I think it's not the fact they need a rest, it's more the fact that they want the time on the training pitch to focus on the bigger games coming up against Aston Villa, Real Madrid and Man City, and they don't want to risk further injuries. Like if they'd started Hugo Ekitike and Alexander Isak's carrying this groin injury, we don't know how long he's going to be out for, and Ekitike comes off injured, they don't have a striker against Aston Villa, against Real Madrid, against Manchester City. They're left with Federico Chiesa. If Conor Bradley starts and gets injured, they don't have a senior right back. I think that is the thinking behind it. And with Curtis Jones carrying a knock, Ryan Gravenberch carrying a knock, you can't risk Dominic Szoboszlai either. So I think this is the thinking there. And we already know they're down to 3 centre-backs, so they don't want to risk Konate or Van Dijk. Don't want to risk Mamardashvili because Alisson's out. I think this is what the issue is. Liverpool have got these injuries that they've got to protect players in their squad and keep them fresh so they're not getting injured weeks down the line. So they've got them for the games that Liverpool are deciding to prioritise. And you can't deny the Premier League game against Aston Villa is more important than Crystal Palace in the League Cup. Real Madrid is more important. Manchester City is more important. But Liverpool have now got to back it up on the pitch. They've got to put in the performance. They've got to find a way to turn around this dreadful run of results, this dreadful run of form, and back the manager. Show what they can do. Get the season back on track. Because if we're talking in a week and a half, and it's not 6 and 7, it becomes 7 and 8, 8 and 9, 9 and 10, or they draw and they're not getting the wins, the pressure is going to mount and Arne Slot, and people will be calling for his heads. The fans will turn, and FSG will have a difficult decision to make. Whether that is in the November international break or it lasts until the new year, how much time they want to give him, we'll have to wait and see. The Liverpool ownership has always been very patient with their managers. Think back to Brendan Rodgers, he was given the start of the 15-16 season, wasn't he? Kenny Dalglish was interim manager, didn't have the best second half of the season when he got the job permanently, but he saw out the campaign. I don't think they're going to just throw him under the bus and sack him early on. He's won the Premier League, and there are mitigating circumstances behind the loss of form this season. They're certainly not going to react like that after a League Cup defeat to Crystal Palace, because this is not the priority this season. It is going for the Premier League, trying to find a way now, I suppose, to get the Champions League qualification, because that title race looks done and dusted for the rest of that title defence. But they can still forge a good go in the Champions League, and they can put in a good performance against Real Madrid next week. It can be a completely different feel, isn't it? It's going to be a completely different atmosphere. Anfield is going to be completely different. So we've just got to wait and see what happens. But he does need to solve that defensive issue, because Liverpool are leaking goals. They're conceding first week after week after week after week. It's a lot of things that Arne Slot needs to solve. So far, we're yet to see any glimpse of a solution. And when that's 6 weeks, 6 games out of 7, you do start to think, is there an answer? Is there a solution? The players will come back from injury. Players will find their form. Players will build connections with each other. It's easy to say it takes time. You need to be patient. but this is the only thing Liverpool have got at the moment. All they can do is go, we've got quality in our team. It will just take time to click. We'll have to wait and see how long it does take to click, and if Arnold Slot can survive long enough to turn it around, or if FSG lose patience. It is a difficult time for him. It's the most difficult challenge of his managerial career, but this is a manager who has won the Premier League title, who's got to European finals, who's won a Dutch league, a Dutch cup. He has got a proven record. FSG and Richard Hughes, the sporting director, were adamant he was the right man. They were confident he was the right man when they appointed him as Jurgen Klopp's successor. That was a really tough task. And he won the Premier League in his first season. People expected a transitional year, and he smashed those expectations. Now, maybe this is going to be the transitional year with that new look side. But if Liverpool can go and, I don't know, qualify for the Champions League and maybe have a better year in the second half of the season, and the squad's gelled a little bit more, and they have a good go in the second half of the season in the Champions League, you start to feel a little bit differently. After the rain comes the rainbow, as they say. So we shall see if there is a way to turn it around. Makana says, beat Real Madrid, beat City. What are you smoking over there? I'm not smoking anything, mate. I didn't say they're going to beat Real Madrid or Manchester City, but I'm going to say that is what they're going to have to aim for. That is why Arne Slot has made the decisions he's made tonight, because he is looking ahead to those games, because they are the priority for Liverpool. They've got to find a way to turn that form around. And you think, a year ago, that was a make-or-break week for Liverpool, where they played Manchester City and Real Madrid back-to-back. They won both those games when they weren't expected to, and it's like, right, they mean business here. This is a side that can go and win the Premier League, and that's what they did. And it's make-or-break potentially again in very different circumstances now, but it could be a turning point. It could be something that saves their season, or it could be something where you know you're in for a long campaign, and there might be a managerial change in it. You don't know. We don't know what the future holds. Just got to see if these are huge games. Maybe Liverpool can respond to that. Maybe the crowd will respond to that. The players will get up for it, and they can find a way to hit top form. We'll just have to wait and see. Like, they have got quality players. They don't become bad players overnight. They're just not a team yet. It takes time. What else have we got in the comments? People saying that he should be sacked tomorrow. Why does he keep putting some senior players out and put academy players in against Palace that defeated you twice? I think we've already covered that, why he's made those decisions. Yeah, he's got a chance just for running because he wouldn't get any goal or assist from that lineup. He was very, very isolated, wasn't he, Federico Chiesa? And that came with the formation, I'm afraid. Liverpool playing 3-4-3, so they didn't have that extra man in midfield to support him in attack, whereas they would have done in the past with, say, Szoboszlai or Florian Wirtz. And it was very youthful on the wings, and Kieran Morrison, who had a quiet Liverpool debut, and Rio Engamoa. So he was always going to be isolated. A difficult night for him. He didn't stop trying. He ran his socks off, but he didn't get much in front of goal. A couple of smart moments, a couple of nice bits of footwork, trying to create space, create a chance out of something, but he was always going to be isolated in that formation. It's a big ask for him. But he got through 90 minutes. I'm not sure if I've been able to say that from him in his Liverpool career before. Depending on the seriousness of Isak's injury, he could get some more opportunities going forward off the bench at the very least. I think Liverpool would have looked better in attack if they'd had Hugo Ekitike up front tonight, but I can understand why the decision was not to risk him when you've got that question mark over Isak's fitness. Any more comments? What have we got? People wanting Jurgen Klopp back. People saying it was a disaster. He won the league last season on luck. What was it, luck? Like, Liverpool didn't win the league the year before with Jurgen Klopp's side. So he did change something that made a difference. Just got to hope Villa, people wanted Slot sacked, wanting Villa to beat Liverpool. That's a bold call. Sango says selling Luis Diaz was the biggest mistake by the management. As I've already said, Luis Diaz wanted to go. Luis Diaz wanted to go in the summer of 24. Manchester City wanted him. But Liverpool didn't let him go. I think Liverpool wanted Julian Alvarez. That was what the report said. And Manchester City weren't interested in exchanging in selling Alvarez to Liverpool. So Liverpool said, fine, you can't have Luis Diaz. Luis Diaz wanted an improved contract, and there wasn't an agreement on that, so he wanted to leave. He wanted to go to Barcelona. They wouldn't stump on the transfer fee, so he wanted to go to Bayern Munich. If a player wants to go, you can't force them to stay against their will. Liverpool had to make a decision, and they did. Luis Diaz is missed, but he wanted to go. You can't do anything there. 3 games to save his job, says Matty. It's a huge week, isn't it? We keep saying Aston Villa, Real Madrid, Man City. Whether it's make or break, we'll have to see. But yeah, Liverpool needs to be a lot better than they've been in the last few games. Bold or stupid, says Stephen. That's the question, isn't it? We'll find out if it was a bold call that backfired or a stupid call that cost Arne Slot his job. I don't think he wanted to lose the game, says Roger. He said before, nothing good ever comes from losing a match, but he did. You knew what was coming from that side, don't you? Bold is more than kind, closer to arrogance, says Orlando. They played better than the first team, says MJ. The first team won 5-1 against Eintracht Frankfurt last week, let's not forget. It's just not clicking yet. It's just not a team yet. What else have we had in the comments? This is his team now. We're seeing the real slot, not a slot that inherited a great squad with a unified playing style, understanding. Yeah, but the players haven't clicked yet. The style hasn't clicked yet. It's individuals. It's not a team. So it's how long are we waiting for it to be a team? Whereas what Jurgen Klopp left behind was players that have been played together for years and years and years. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how long it takes to turn it around. There were a couple of transitional years early on, weren't there, from the Jurgen Klopp era, when we think 2015, 2016, we think 2016 and 17 as well, but then he just got into the Champions League. So I have to wait and see how long it takes to turn around for Arne Slot. What other comments have we got? Salah won us the league. Come on, can't just put it down to one player. Yeah, he played brilliantly last season, Mohamed Salah, but it was a great team effort. There were so many good players in that squad last year. Alexis McAllister, Ryan Gravenberch, Alison Becker, Ryan Gravenberch. What other comments have we got? Joe Gomez started the game well. Calvin Ramsey started the game well. Andy Robertson played well. It's not all negative. It's just not the best because they lost 3-0 and it was a much changed side in a formation they've not played before, etc., etc., etc. Yeah, that Villa game is huge. We've had comments going. He could lose his job if he loses to. I don't think it's going to happen like that. But we'll have to wait and see. Plenty of negativity in the comments here. Yeah, I can understand why everyone is feeling so bad about this. It was a horrible result for Liverpool. It's a horrible run of results, but there's not really much more to say, is there? Like, it's happened. Liverpool are out the League Cup, and they've now just got to hope they can turn it around in the Premier League, in the Champions League, focus on those big games. Someone here saying, I wanted that lineup, so I got it. It was more, I predicted that lineup because I knew, or had a gut feeling that Arne Slot would name a much changed sides. I didn't think he was going to go full strength, and sure enough, he didn't. I can understand the logic in not wanting to risk injuries. If Liverpool had an injury to Hugo Ekitike tonight, to Conor Bradley, to Dominic Szoboszlai, they are in even deeper trouble. It made sense to go for some of the fringe players, even if it meant sacrificing the League Cup. The only problem with that is you've now got to back it up in the Premier League, in the Champions League, and they've got huge games coming up, and it's whether it's make or break, we'll have to wait and see. It's what I keep saying. Well, yeah, I'm not used to getting so much negativity in these comments. Like we had it last week as well, didn't we, after United? How many losses does it take for Liverpool to sack a manager? Well, obviously 6 and 7 can't keep on going. It can't keep being a losing run. There has to be a turning point at some point. We'll just have to wait and see what FSG think. I don't think there's any suggestion that he's going to go anytime soon. I think he's quite rightly got the backing of the ownership, and this is just the League Cup. It's not the biggest games compared to the Premier League. It's not the first team. It's not the Champions League. But there will come a time when the question has to be asked. I don't think it's yet, but we've got to see a response from Liverpool and from Arne Slot, and maybe that will come in the forthcoming games in the post-match press conference. We'll have to wait and see. If you're hearing those cheers now, Rio Nkomo is just walking down the sideline with his family, having a few friends, taking a few pictures with friends. Before we go, let's have a look at Ian Doyle's player ratings. I'm guessing they're not going to be the most encouraging set of numbers. Yeah, lots of 6s, a few 5s. Trey Onyoni hasn't caught his eye, neither Kieran Morrison. Amara Nallo only gets a 3 after being sent off for exactly the same way he was sent off on his debut. It's a really difficult night for the youngster. Your heart goes out to him because it's not the way you would want his night to go. If you want to read Ian Doyle's player ratings on the Liverpool Echo website, we also have the Paul Gorst verdict, the Ian Doyle match analysis, and all the reaction from Arne Slot if you want to hear what the Dutchman's got to say after another disappointing defeat for Liverpool. That's all we've got time for at Anfield tonight, where it has been another difficult evening for Liverpool Football Club. I'll be back on Saturday after the Aston Villa game, where hopefully Liverpool have turned the corner. Hopefully things will turn around and we can forget this defeat very, very quickly and look forward to hopefully Liverpool returning to winning ways in the Premier League. It's been a dismal run, hopefully the week on the training pitch is exactly what the first team players needed, and this gamble from Arne Slot has paid off. It doesn't feel like it now, but maybe it will in a few days. We'll just have to wait and see. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks as always for all your comments, much appreciated. Until next time, I've been Theo Squires. Thank you and goodbye.